Hello, everyone. So lovely to be here with you again. I'm just, I was gifted this beautiful yerba stick, and I haven't tried it before. So I'm bringing her in to help just cleanse this transmission. Hope that it doesn't be interfered with in any way and it reaches the people who need to hear it the most. Thank you. Okay, beautiful. Let's just get that going a little bit. Yerba Santa smudge stick, known as holy herb, bringing in healing and protection and may increase psychic powers. Ooh, well, there we go. Beautiful. Okay, ready to go. Just going to pop that there. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. So it is a beautiful day. I have only a week to go until I head to Peru and stay with Maestro Roberto at Yoshiocha Retreat for 3 months of solid training in the jungle. I have to say the nerves are kicking in. I know it's going to be some pretty intense, not only healing, but also intense training. Mother Aya has already been preparing me in ways that I didn't ask for, which is lovely. Well, that's what plant spirits do. Yeah, anyway, so I am busy doing some content for you because I really feel called to share some of the things that I have already learned for the many, many, many people who have contacted me saying they really need to do some more healing work, very interested in psychedelics, different types of psychedelic plants, whether it's mushrooms, whether it's ayahuasca, whether it is San Pedro. There's so many different plants that can be used for healing, and not all of them are psychedelic, by the way. There are so many amazing plants that you can use for healing work. I mean, I've just been doing some healing work with sage, white sage, and let me just say, I was doing a dieta with the beautiful Kat Courtney from the Plant Medicine People. Amazing, wonderful, beautiful shamanic healer that she is, ayahuasquera that she is. And I had to cut it short because it was actually too powerful for me in the space that I have right now. I'm too busy preparing. I already have so much going on. It's so unlike me to add more to my list. Not. It is one of my areas of work that I still need to deal with, is not making myself too busy. Known trauma response, by the way. So I was in the middle of doing a dieta with white sage. Wow, really, really powerful and a beautiful plant to do medicine work with. So protective, so healing. And, I've always kind of used sage, just as a clearing and et cetera. And I guess now realizing that I kind of took it a little bit for granted that she was just a good healing with, but actually sitting with her and connecting with the spirit, she's actually way more powerful than people probably assume. So I've often used mapacho, which is sacred tobacco. I have done dieta with mapacho and become quite close with him and really work with him a lot in my ayahuasca ceremonies because he always shows up with me. Sorry, cat hair. So, he's always been a very strong and right there, close by protector for me. But now knowing what white sage is capable of, I'm looking forward to actually redoing that dieta and sitting with her and becoming much closer with her and understanding her better. This is the Sacred Wound Medicine YouTube channel that I am bringing to you interviews from a range of different people, and of course my own experiences with psychedelics, my own teachings, things I've learned along the way, wherever it goes, answering some of your questions. Feel free to type questions in the comments or email me for those of you who are on my list. Join, subscribe. I'd love to have you in the community. I will be obviously sharing what I learn once I come back from Peru. So, it's kind of whatever you want to make it. Here I am, Charlie Giles. Lovely to be with you today. So today's topic is about preparing yourself for healing work. Now, whilst a lot of my experience is to do with psychedelic medicines, plant spirits, etc., this is also open for people who are doing healing work just generally, either with, bringing to the surface some traumatic experiences, talk therapy. I work with, do NLP stuff, even CBT therapy, as well as shamanic work without medicine. So drumming, journeying, all those kinds of beautiful energy healing works. There's so many different modalities that can be used. Breath work, of course. So, and even just self-care and, getting into exercise and eating well, that can be a healing process. So when I say healing, I do mean a whole range of healing things. So this is for anyone who is looking to really step into a deeper level of healing. But what I wanted to say is this: healing work is challenging. It's really tough. It's really scary because you don't know what's going to come up. Generally, you tend to think you're going to be facing all your trauma stuff over again. And whilst that is in some respect true, it's not that you are reliving the trauma. If you end up going to any kind of practitioner that makes you feel as though you need to relive something, then I would say get the hell out of there, because that is absolutely not necessary and not required. You should never have to relive any kind of traumatic experience. Now, that's not saying that you may, in a journey or in some kind of process of unpacking a story, you may still need to talk about it. You may still need to go into what are looking at. What is the part of the story that you keep reliving, or what is the part of the story that keeps you connected to an emotion? Because very often that part of the story is skewed, and there's some part of it that you can release that will help you release the emotion. But what I'm getting at is at never any time should there be some practitioner that is making you relive instances or go through certain stages of a trauma again, because that's not necessary. And again, I have to preface all of my videos by saying these are my experiences, this is my opinion, and this is what I have learned through various clients. Yes, I am a trained counselor. Many people get stuck in the space between I'm okay, I'm coping, I'm doing all right, I don't need to do anything different. It's too scary, too big to make changes, between the first step of, okay, maybe I need to do something about this because life is getting really hard. So many people get stuck in those two spaces. And I was absolutely 100% one of those people, because you kind of feel in control when you're in a trauma managed lifestyle. Now, what does trauma managed lifestyle mean? It means that you feel like you're coping. You feel like if you just keep doing what you're doing, running the rabbit wheel, it's not really a rabbit wheel, is it? What is it? A mouse wheel. And you just keep going, right? Then everything will be okay, as long as you don't stop. You just do a little bit of the self-medicating. Every now and then, maybe take a day spa, make you think like you're doing things okay. Every now and then, take a little break. But really, those little breaks are really just you thinking over and over and over again about how much stuff you have going on and how am I ever going to cope. You never really unplug, right? And you either stay really busy, or you also get to the point where you just completely check out. There's two versions of how you trauma respond. And you might be doing this for most of your life, and that was me. Just continuously self-medicating, staying busy, working long hours, and always looking like I'm achieving something and feeling like I'm achieving something. But really, I'm just containing all the stuff that I don't want to deal with. So the idea of starting to unravel and starting to open up the, so-called Pandora's box of trauma is very frightening. because you don't know how that's going to look. You don't know what it's going to ask you to change. You don't know what it's going to unravel or whether you're going to be able to control it, because of course control is what helps to keep you feel like you're managing life. And the idea of not knowing what that's going to look like on the other side is terrifying. And society also, most cultures and society kind of deem it as a kind of almost a weakness, or almost some kind of, oh, okay, you know, oh, so you're in therapy now, you know, whether you like it or not. We're a very judgy society and culture all the way around. We're not supportive of people helping themselves. I think we might be getting better as society is crumbling, as more and more people have mental health problems or are reaching to things and are in trauma is becoming more well spoken. But then the actual action of doing something is still a big deal. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this is because I hate that people get stuck. I hate that people, you know, for me, I can hear all their trauma things going on. I can hear and see their lifestyle, that it's just overwhelming and too much. And I can hear as they're relaying how life is for them, that the universe is giving them all these signals to say, you're not going to be able to cope with all this. You really need to let some of this go. It's time to let some of this go. But they don't hear it because it's just, oh my goodness, this is happening, and then this is happening, and then this is happening, and I can't handle it anymore. And I sit there listening going, I know, you're not meant to handle it anymore. It's okay to let some of that go. But they can't focus enough, or they can't breathe or accept that it's their trauma response to go, okay, I need to stop. I need to let something go. I need to look at the way that I'm responding to life and perhaps take responsibility for something by saying I need to at least do step one of healing. And that is admitting that you need to work on yourself and not be fixing life for everyone else all the time. See, when you're a fixer, you never stop to do your own stuff. You just don't. How do you prepare yourself for going, okay, I need to do some kind of going away, retreat session, start to look into, you know, maybe some kind of course where I can start to learn how to meditate or be in the present moment or slow down. That's one of the first steps. You need to be able to slow down. You need to be able to hit the stop button, not even just the pause button, the stop button. You need to be able to reflect. You need to be able to start looking at yourself, that self realizations of okay, what is the way that I'm looking at life right now? Is life happening to me, or am I in my life directing it? Generally, when you're in a trauma response, it's just happening. It's out of control. And you're just, you know, putting out fires. You're just managing everyone else and barely able to breathe. So the first step to prepare yourself for healing is to learn how to pause. I'll say pause because stop is way too hard. Is to learn how to pause, to breathe, to unplug. You really need to be able to unplug. I like to say unplugging out of the matrix for a while. Get away from your emails. Get away from your life as you know it. Get away from the phones, all the things that, you know, grab your attention, even if it's just for a few days. It has to be more than an overnight thing. That doesn't even count. It has to be a few days just to help teach you to start being in the present moment. That's one of the first steps, because you need to be able to take in that breath. Now, you don't have to be able to learn how to meditate in a weekend. It's not about learning a skill and then, because that's just putting more pressure on you. It's actually just having that space away from everything that is gluing you together right now. And then once you've started to do that, it's about, you know, say, of course, I'm going to say whether it's finding an energy healer. If you don't, if you're, if you have big trauma, or if you're just coping and you've never done anything before, then jumping straight from where you are now straight into psychedelic medicine is probably not the most ideal if you've never done anything. I had always done a lot of work. I had always done lots of energy work. So I had a very big awareness of my energy body and how it all worked. So that none of that was frightening to me. What I'm talking about is if you are, complete newbie and you haven't done any kind of work on yourself, or maybe you've done a bit of, I don't know, some nice workshops like retreat self-care workshops, but you haven't kind of gotten into energy work. If you're going into energy work, then you really need to understand some things about yourself, your body energetically, whether it's getting your chakras cleaned, balanced, aligned, feeling the lift of that. So finding a shamanic practitioner, an energy healer that are, understanding of your energy body and how it needs to be cleared, and having your chakras cleared. That's a fantastic first step. Good Reiki healing. It's always about finding the best ones, because there are always some that aren't so good, but that's with everything, right? So that's kind of one of the first steps as far as preparing yourself for healing. Let's say we are preparing for a psychedelic experience, okay? Now, depending on all the boxes being ticked about the health history, would be dependent on whether ayahuasca is even okay for you or not. I'm not going to go into all that because it's a whole nother series, and I do have a YouTube video on, some of the contraindications on taking ayahuasca, so you can have a look at that. But let's just say, for example, assuming all the health history and medications and everything are fine, mushrooms are a great place to start. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to be easy breezy. It just means that it's a good first step with mushrooms, mostly because they can kind of ease you into the psychedelic space of understanding what psychedelics mean, how the visions work, what it feels like in your body, the change, the journey process, the ceremonial process, and just bringing the idea of plant spirits into your energy form, into your understanding and your awareness. Then, of course, there's the ayahuasca process. So besides the physical preparations like the dieting and all those kinds of things, what I'm really talking about is the preparation of you. Now, what will happen, and I almost say this as a surety, just because I'm assuming you're human that I'm talking to, that being a human, we love to try and package an experience and know what it's going to be like and kind of compartmentalize it along the way. We get so stuck in our brains when these kinds of things happen. And we need that for our safety and security and our certainty, right? This is the difficulty with working with psychedelics and plant spirits, because it's none of those things. There is no certainty. There is no packaging it into a box. There may not be any logical things that happen for you because you're dealing in the spirit world. You're dealing with plant spirits. You're dealing with psychedelics. You're dealing with things that are visions that you might see, things that you've never experienced before. You might get taken out to a galactic universe. You might see alien beings. You might see people who have passed. You might see your ancestors. You might see spirit animals entering into the room. There are so many variables. And plus, you might enter the midst of your own mind and visualize the consciousness of all of the galaxies. I mean, anything is possible, and many more things that I don't even have words for. So the idea that you can prepare yourself for a psychedelic healing process or a healing journey is actually, the hardest part, because you want to, right? It's like when we're not feeling well, we go to a doctor because we want the certainty of the diagnosis. Now, I'm not big on the doctor process myself, but I do understand the need for them, right? So what do we go to a doctor for? What is it that feeling before we go and we get the diagnosis? We desperately want them to tell us what's wrong with them. That's our human need for certainty. And then it's almost like you feel better now that you've got the knowing, now that you have the, oh, okay, I've got this, but at least I know what I've got. Now I can start working on it. We are very programmed as, people in our westernized society, that if there's something wrong with us, we need a diagnosis. Indigenous people do not work that way. They understand completely that a diagnosis, comes from many different things. It's your body and your spirit. It was all out of alignment. So it's about realigning with your energy body. They've known that for thousands of years, which is why they work so closely with the plants and Mother Nature, because the plants and Mother Nature are all about realigning, all about balance and removing the things that have you out of balance. They look at the whole body and spirit all as one. And when we're out of alignment, we feel unwell, dis-ease, right? So that's how the plants work. So there's not necessarily a diagnosis. There's not a cure for the issue. It's bringing you back into balance. And that can be very difficult for us to understand when we're going into a healing process with plant medicines. And this, I'm verbalizing this because it's better to know this going in, that there are certain aspects of your human mind that are going to be triggered. And it's this huge desire for knowledge of, well, where do I start? Where do I need healing? What is my healing going to look like? Are you going, if I want to be healed from a broken heart, are you going to just go in and mend my broken heart? Like, are you going to show me the love of my life so I'm not broken anymore? Absolutely not. That's not how it works. And I think it's important to voice this, because it's not that we're bad or we're wrong or we're doing it wrong. It's just that that's the way we're taught to do things. That's this westernized culture of, there's something wrong with me. I'm going to this to get healed. So they're going to give it to me in this format. And we get so frustrated with the medicine when we come out of ceremony and it didn't work that way. The amount of times I have heard people say at the end of a ceremony or the next day of a ceremony, I don't know what happened. I had this as my intention and it was just weird pictures or this, or I didn't feel anything, or I got this instead, and then interestingly enough, often what happens is a few days after that first ceremony, when they've had a couple more ceremonies, they'll say, well, actually, then I was shown how this piece pieced together with that piece, and now I kind of understand the bigger picture. So very often that intention will come to fruition, but it's just not in the way they first imagined or they first intended it to be. They intended it to be. What we have to remember is that plant spirits don't work in the human world. They've been around for millions of years, right? Plants have been here for a long time, a lot longer than humans. They've watched us grow and evolve. They watch us as we do our ridiculously stupid things, but they also watch us as we do our amazing things. And they are definitely working to help us. They're not there judging us. They're there to help us. They want to see us succeed, right? Because with us succeeding, then the earth succeeds. So the plants work in the way that they work. They are spiritual consciousness. They are spiritual beings. They don't work human ways. So for us, asking them to package the healing in a human form is just us not understanding the bigness and the greatness of what they can do. They don't have to do that for it to work. They do what they do, right? By showing us aspects of ourselves that we have locked away, hidden away, don't understand, have never seen, avoid seeing, and they try and show us why it's not doing us any good. They try and show us the bird's eye view of humanity so that we can see the smallness of what we consider our big problems. And not in a disrespectful, insignificant way, in a way that says, you worry too much about the small stuff. You are really amazing, significant, spiritual, incredible beings, but you get stuck in your head and you worry about the small stuff. Plants love to show us how the control that we think we have is actually non-existent and only gets us further in strife. Because really we're not in control of anything, right? We think we are, but we're not. And plants have definitely taught me that. It doesn't mean I'm not still a recovering control freak. I'm always being shown issues of where I do, little versions of control to try and appease myself. But I'm fully aware now that it's just a response of, trying to comfort myself by feeling like I'm in control of something. Now, again, with going into a plant medicine ceremony, what I have found to be really helpful is to know that the parts of me that are the most desperate to be healed and that really need to come up, the parts of me that are blocking my success in my life, are also going to be the parts of me that are going to try and stop me from healing. Now, that might sound confusing, but again, I'll go back to the point that we're all energetic beings, right? We have different layers of energy. If we have an energy, I'll use my own example, did not want me to heal at all. Now, this was an entity, did not want me to go to retreat, did not want me to heal, did not want me to do anything to get to that retreat. Now, as it was, I knew I had to go because my life was not good at all. I would have probably I don't think I would have made it past 51-ish. I think I definitely would have been dead before then from some physical, just drinking too much, probably have a heart attack or something like that. But I would not have made it to the second half of my life. And I think, where was I going with that? Yes. So that entity desperately was trying to stop me from attending any retreats, from attending any form of healing plant medicine. When I committed to still going anyway, it then just made things difficult for me. So the dieta, my preparation was very tough, was very challenging. Now, entities work in a way that they're kind of like a little chattery voice going on that you just can't quiet. And they will make life quite difficult for you. I am going to talk more about entities in another video, but this was kind of my introduction to it, of realizing that they really yell at you and get loud and like a monkey mind, just going on and on and on and on and on. And they really shine a light on your weaknesses. So for me, my weaknesses are food. I had eating disorder when I was younger and had never really addressed it. I was able to stop doing it, but I would never really address the core part of that. And obviously that's a self-worth thing. So that was a really big, the self-worth was also very much tied into my heart and my broken heart and what obviously this entity was feeding off. So it was protecting my low self-worth at all costs, because that's how an entity stays connected to you, through the vibration that is the lowest. If I heal that, then it doesn't have any connection with me. So the reason why I'm saying this is because you may not, assume that you have some kind of entity or anything, but you can still have an energy or a consciousness that is a low vibration, that when it comes to healing, it will be very frightened of you making any changes. It will definitely want you to avoid that healing at all costs. And it will start to throw up challenges to you or doubts about all sorts of things. whether or not it's going to be safe, whether you should go, what happens afterwards, and most of all, what are the changes to your life that are going to be required after? And this is one of the biggest ones. Now, if you think about it, this is all kinds of healing. This is even if you're trying to lose weight or get fit. It doesn't have to be with psychedelics. This goes across the board with all kinds of change. We don't like change, right? And that's okay. We need to admit that. We need to admit we don't like making big changes. It might sound exciting at the time when you're trying to make a new goal. Oh, I want to make a new life. I want to do it differently. I want to be that fit person or whatever. But when it comes down to it, the change is what's the hardest part. And it's actually the sticking to the changes which makes it the most difficult, right? In anything, whether it's building a new business, saving money, whether it's, being a different person in a relationship or making different eating habits. It's one thing to say what you want, but it's another thing to actually put it into practice and do it, right? That we all know that. We've all known that from our own experiences. So this is going to be the same when it comes to doing big healing work, whether it's through a shamanic practitioner, energy healings, whether it's doing psychedelic work. The thing that will come up is, what do I have to do differently after this to make this healing stick? And this is one of the challenges with healing. And why I believe it goes through part of the preparation work with healing. Now, I will talk in other videos about entities and how they work and how they can challenge things, and also the work that we need to do afterwards. So that's coming up in some of the other videos, the integration stuff and how to make change. But to try and keep this as that video about preparation, healing work, and why it's important to know what's going to challenge you, why it's difficult, is something that I feel is important to talk about with so many people being called to do deep healing work. You have to know that you're not going to know what you're in for, and that's okay. But you know what? You survived the trauma, right? Otherwise you wouldn't be here listening. You survived the trauma. Healing from the trauma is not going to be as bad as dealing with the trauma. It's also not going to be as bad as living with the trauma. And I can say this from my heart to you because this is me, who I am now. I was that person living with and managing the trauma, many, many traumas, and only just hanging in there, but still functioning like a so-called, normal functioning adult out in the world. But the way that my life is so different now, I would not go back to that traumatized person in a million years for anything. I just wouldn't. I mean, I'm honored for the experience so that I can be here now to share with you and look you in the face and be honest and authentic and say, you need to trust yourself. If you went through those traumas and survived, then you can go through the healing and you can be an amazing, spiritually aware, solid, awesome individual that isn't living life through trauma responses. You're not defending your wounds anymore. You're not triggered by the things you're triggered by now. You're not just coping. You're not out of energy all the time. You're not exhausted from just existing. You're not constantly trying to put out fires anymore. You're not always trying to please everyone and be everyone's friend and be all and everything to everyone. You are finally free of all of that. And everything's still good, right? So this is my reason for sharing these things with you. I would love to hear from you. Any comments or questions, please leave them below. Again, subscribe to this channel if you want to hear more videos. But I can't encourage you even any more than what I already am about taking those first few steps into healing. And if you have done those first few steps and you're ready to do psychedelic medicine, then please, I would be honored to have you on this journey. I would be honored to take you to the place that I know is safe, that I know is trustworthy, that it's traditional, the place that I go to and that I take other people, I would be honored to take you on that journey, to take you into some deep healing and free you of the things that just aren't serving you anymore. Many blessings to you. Mwah. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.